Hey guys, it's Bakington back at it again, and today we have another Five Nights at Freddy's cookbook recipe. Today we will be making the garlicky pizza twirls and spicy dip. Now this recipe was a request by this lovely commenter right here. Now, if you want to see your request made, let me know in the comment section. I'll get to it eventually. Now, this is a really fun and easy recipe if you followed some of our other previous videos. We've already made most of the constituent ingredients, so let's do a quick high-level overview of all the ingredients before we get started. So here's a really high-level overview if you haven't watched our previous video, in which case click here if you haven't. That'll give you all the direct measurements, but we're going to add our yeast and sugar to our water and mix it all up with your pig whisk. Alright, set that aside. And in the meantime, we're going to take our bread flour, add our salt, our semolina, and this is a little addition that I've started doing because I've made this dough like I think at least 5 times now. I add a little bit of Italian seasoning. Not a lot, just a little bit. Now I'm going to set all this aside for 10 minutes while we let the yeast start working. Just like the dough, I'm not going to go over all the measurements in this particular video. If you want to know the measurements for these sauces and the dough, check out our Pizzaplex pizza video. But for now, we've got our chopped tomatoes. I'm going to grab my tomato paste. Some pepper. Some salt, some sugar, and of course, some oregano. Because who needs seasoning in sauce, right? Clearly not Freddy Fazbear. And I'm going to blend all this with my immersion blender. Our yeast has had some time to froth up, so I'm going to add my yeasty water. Swish around, make sure you get all of it. And my olive oil. Now we're going to mix. And we're going to knead this for 10 minutes. So we'll check back when we got some dough to work with. So it's been a couple of hours, and now our dough is nice and soft and pillowy. So it's time to roll it out and actually assemble these pizza twirls. So let's get started. Hold on, I gotta do it. I'm gonna spank it. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had to get it out. Anyway, it's time to roll the dough out. According to the book, we need to roll this dough out to 14 inches by 8 inches. So let's do it. I don't actually know if that's 14 by 8, but that looks close enough. And the key I've found, besides having a well-floured surface, but you don't want to add too much flour because it makes your dough tough. But I find keeping your dough moving, swapping it around every few passes with the rolling pin, helps keep it from sticking. Because if it's always moving, it's not going to get stuck to your surface. And if it starts to stick a little bit, keeping it moving helps it from getting stuck real bad. Now I've got my dough roughly the shape that I want it. Now I've got here 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to add garlic powder and parsley. Now the recipe calls for 3 cloves of crushed garlic. However, I'm not a huge fan of raw garlic and like whole garlic, so I find it much easier for me to use garlic powder. I'm also not a huge fan of a ton of garlic, but for this recipe I will endure. but I find it much more palatable if I use garlic powder versus fresh garlic. So I'm going to add the corresponding amount of garlic powder, and I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of chopped fresh parsley, or in my case, a teaspoon of dried parsley. Now, garlic powder is much stronger than fresh garlic, so you're not going to use as much. Now I'm going to soften this butter in the microwave for a couple seconds so it's spreadable enough to spread all over our dough in a similar fashion to you would like a cinnamon roll. So now I've got my butter that did end up getting a little too soft for my liking, but that's totally fine. We will deal. It is a bit chilly today, isn't it, Derek?
It is.
So, I have no fear that this will not totally solidify before we can even roll this puppy up. Now, what I'm going to do is spread this garlic parsley butter all over the dough, right up to the edges. Now we're going to add 2 tablespoons of our sauce. Spread that around. Not gonna lie, butter and tomato sauce isn't necessarily my idea of a good time, but I'm very curious to see how these turn out because so far, this has definitely, I'm gonna add a little bit more because it's a little dry. This has been one of the more enjoyable cookbooks that I've used. I really liked the Neopets cookbook, but their food was a bit simplistic.
Awful.
Excuse you. That is my childhood comfort game.
Would you like to have those cinnamon buns again?
No. Wait, the cinnamon buns were from the Disney cookbook.
Ah.
Which, I mean, yeah, no, Disney cookbook, trash. Straight trash. This is a Disney slandering household. Now, I'm gonna add on my half a cup of mozzarella cheese. Now I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm adding a little bit more because I like it. Now I feel like this would be improved with pepperoni, but I'm not everybody. We're going to start, and just like you would a cinnamon roll, just roll the dough up. And if you have a dough that's kind of sticky like this one, never fear. Get yourself one of these or metal pastry board scrapers, and you're just going to use that to lift your dough up very easily off your surface. If you don't have one of these, I got this one from the Alton Brown Show. I'll put a link down below where you can get one. I'm going to try and wrap these up tightly though. No need to be timid. Go. I'm going to pinch the edges together very lightly because this is quite sticky dough, so it will hold its shape pretty well. Now, it's time to cut this with a serrated knife into, how long did it say? 1 1/4 inches. We're going to cut these into about 1 1/4 inch slices. If only I knew what 1 1/4 inches looked like. These are too big.
say I think they're too small. This is certainly not 1 1/4 inches.
But it'll say it's 1 1/4 inches on its profile. We as a society just don't know what inches look like. All right, now I'm gonna put these on a baking tray lined with parchment paper, and I'll come back when it's done. So here are our pizza things. They look not great, but they are gonna look much better after a short stint in the oven. We're gonna throw these into a 425-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes. So I'll check back when they're done, but for now, let's go over the spicy dipping sauce we make with them. All right, now to make some garlicky pizza twirl dipping sauce. So we got our pizza twirls in the oven, and now it's time for some spicy dip. So this is 3 tablespoons of the pizza sauce we made earlier. And all we're gonna do is add 1/4 teaspoon of hot pepper flakes and a teaspoon of olive oil. Because again, why would we cook anything? Why cook our sauces? That's just, Bakington, that's crazy. Cooking your sauce? Ridiculous, laughable. Clearly I need to be thrown in some sort of loony bin. There you go. And after a few minutes in the oven, this is what we have. Some of them honestly look fantastic. I mean, like, look at these. These look amazing. Other ones look a bit like something I don't want to talk about. But it's much more important what they taste like. So now I've got my pizza twirl and my sauce. That is just tomatoes with some stuff in it. First, I'm gonna try one of these just on their own because I have a feeling this is gonna be really delicious. Yeah, I like it. Very tasty, crispy bottom, soft interior. Probably from all the butter and sauce. But that face I made was because I was expecting garlic, but that was some garlic. But no, I don't hate it. It tastes a lot like, there's this Italian restaurant I would go to a lot in Los Feliz. It's called, what was it called? Palermo's? Yes. And they had this garlic bread that was quite garlicky, but also really delicious. And that's what this tastes like. Very good. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10, would definitely make this again. Now this sauce, I've had it before, but it's been cooked in a pizza. But this is just tomatoes out of a can with some tomato paste out of a can with a couple of dashes of crumbs of seasoning. And lots of red pepper flakes. Again, not cooked, and some olive oil. So I have a feeling I probably won't like this part. Am I crazy? I feel like this should be cooked. What does the recipe say? Hold the phone. I have to make sure that I'm not crazy. Okay, chopped tomatoes, tomato paste, oregano, sugar, salt, pepper to taste. Strain tomatoes through a sieve into a bowl. Stir all of the ingredients in, and no cooking. It says right there. Take a look at this. No cooking required. This is wrong. I just know it. This is gonna be awful. And if I'm wrong, if I'm gonna eat my words right now, totally fine. I'll happily. But I just know this is gonna be. Yeah. I don't like it. The sauce needs to be cooked. Ooh. It's sour and acidic and hot. But there's this undeniable, like, just if you were to drink a tablespoon of olive oil flavor, and just that very tinny canned tomato flavor. So this is good. I'm gonna keep this, but I'm gonna cook this on the stove for a couple of minutes just to thicken it, let everything marry, let everything get just a little bit better than just canned tomato flavor. But these, on the other hand, I'll eat them all right now. Fantastic. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let me know if you have a recipe you want to see from the cookbook here, or if you have any other recipes you would like to see done. Now, this was one of the like side recipes. I appreciate this cookbook does that though. They give you the base for everything. So like this dough is used in like a dozen different recipes in this cookbook. Same with the sauce, and I really want to try some of the other ones like the burgers. This has so much stuff to it. So, look forward to more of those in the future. But again, until then, I'm Lord Bakington, and I will see you when I see you.